What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Davey Sports Podcast. This is episode 179, recording this on the evening of Wednesday, January 29th, 2025. So you'll most likely be listening to this on the morning of Thursday, January 30th. Matty's back with me. What's up, Matty?
What's up, everyone?
Yeah, I said after we talked about the conference championship games and the Aztecs win over Nevada and Reno on Saturday that probably would be next Sunday. But some things happened, so we're gonna do this a little bit earlier than expected. First of all, we'll start with the Aztec game last night. Oh boy, what a roller coaster! What a doozy that game was, huh?
I think alone for that was worthy of doing a podcast for sure, just to
Yeah,
address some things.
that was insane.
Not alone. Yeah. So well, obviously the game didn't start off the way we wanted it to. San Jose came out guns blazing, couldn't miss a three. Uh, Alduje, who transferred in from Utah State, was playing out of his mind. He scored what 16 of the first 19 points.
Yeah, I looked up at I looked
Yeah.
up. I was at the game. I looked up at the scoreboard. He already had 16 points. I was like, God dang, what is this guy, Steph Curry?
Like that never happens to us. We never allow one guy to completely take over like that in a short period of time. And then what
Last
do you
time I remember
know?
a guy doing that against
Yeah,
us was Jimmer, and that was a long, long time ago.
basically, yeah, like no one else has done that against us. Like only Jimmy Fredette, of course.
I
But
know someone's gonna say, "What about Clavel from Colorado State?" That one year, he shot like 30 times in those games.
he just chucked up shots, not like being efficient. But like
Well, the other
if you
one
thought,
actually is Buddy Boeheim in the round of 64 against Syracuse in
oh,
21. That's the only one I can
oh
think
my,
of.
oh, thanks for reminding me about that. I do
That
not
was
want to talk about that
ridiculous.
game.
But
Yeah,
to
I
your
don't want to
point,
talk about
that's so rare
Syracuse.
that you see a guy just completely take over like that against us.
Yeah, and then when once you thought, oh, like we were gonna turn the game around when we called our first timeout. No, no, it didn't. We like San Jose State was on a 15-0 run and we were down like at one point in the first.
We were
Or
down
even
21 at
21.
one point.
21. 21.
33 to 12.
Yeah. So that that should tell you how bad we played to begin the game. And not only that, on top of the 15-0 run, I don't think I've ever seen a team, even a high school, a good high school team, turn the ball over 7 consecutive times.
Well, I mean, except for New Mexico in 2014 when we went to the 1-3-1 against them.
Yes, but
That's the
at
only other
home,
time I can
yeah,
remember.
but at home, 7 straight turnovers, and we didn't score for like obvious or score a basket for 7 minutes.
You
Like
know what you
that's
know what
how
I think
bad we played.
what the problem was? I don't know if you noticed the same thing I did. Guys were like scared to shoot during that stretch.
Yes,
Nobody wanted to
yes,
shoot, and they were so hesitant. That's why they turned the ball over every possession in that stretch.
right. So I just feel like I'm just glad that they were able to shake that off, though, because honestly, yeah, we talked about how bad we played against UNLV and how bad we played against Air Force. Well, that you can't get much worse than that stretch right there.
No, that was the worst
Unfortunately,
thing I've ever seen in my life. That was
right?
unbelievable.
And this is all within the last couple weeks. Like we lost the UNLV game, we barely survived Air Force, and we found a way to come back, claw away, and win yesterday. Like it's been ugly, but we found a way to win, which I guess is all what matters at this point. Like there's still a lot to be desired, but the obviously the one thing that we are pleased about, and honestly it's been showing all year, is they have fight and they have heart, and
Oh
you
yeah,
can always commend that on this team. And honestly, like almost every Aztec team always plays hard.
yeah. I mean, you as ugly as that was, it wasn't all us. I mean, San Jose State was launching some shots and they were going in, so it wasn't all us playing bad. Even though we did have a horrible stretch there, but they hung in there. They kept fighting, and that was an incredible comeback. Just shows you the talent of this team. They can go on a run like that. But please find some consistency, guys.
Yeah, because again, we thought. hey, we just played one of our best games of the year against Nevada, right? So you would have thought, okay, that was the game that turned the tide. Didn't look like it yesterday, but again, found a way to win. And again, you always take an ugly win over a horrible loss.
Yeah, because you don't get left out of the NCAA tournament because you almost lost a game. That's never happened.
Mm-mm. And again, I like what you said. Dutch, I feel like, is a person, he doesn't want to be too hard on his guys. So I feel like he can teach guys up doing an ugly win instead of like getting on people with a very bad loss.
Yeah, I'll say this too. A Dutch actually, he actually got up in somebody's face though this last game. If you read the Mark Ziegler article,
And it's not just an ordinary player.
it was
It's
Miles
our best
Bird. I
guy.
mean, and I was at the game and I noticed this that Bird and Taj were kind of like, I don't know if they were like screaming at each other, like what, like I don't think they wanted to like fight each other or anything, but they were definitely unhappy with each other over a defensive mix-up, which is what Ziegler wrote in the article. And then,
Yeah, and
Dutch got on him in the huddle, and then Dutch got on him again at halftime. And he, sure enough, Bird was on fire in that second half and was big reason why we won that game.
no question about it. So like,
You could just feel the tide was really turning once he hit those couple threes, and you're like, oh boy, here we go. Bird's getting hot.
yeah, so I give credit to him. And yeah, I give good credit to Dutch because I feel like again, like you couldn't have played worse than that stretch that we just mentioned in the first half. So I felt like Dutch knew that this was different, like the urgency was different, and that he needed to do this to spark not just him, but spark the whole team, and everyone else responded.
Yeah, and
So
I'll
that's
give Miles
refreshing
Bird a
to
lot of
see.
credit too, because he said, I deserved, to be ripped. And I'm glad that he did that so I could play like I'm capable of playing.
And then Dutch said, "Oh, I wouldn't have done it if I don't think Bird could handle it," and he did handle it. Great.
Yeah. So
So
that was great to see. And then we talked about, you and I are like, where's the leadership on this team? I think we saw it with Boyd on last night, Tuesday night.
yeah,
Like I saw
for sure.
Boyd, he was going up to guys, be like, "Let's go, fellas!" Try to get everybody fired up. I saw it with him in huddles. Like Boyd stepped up as a leader on Tuesday night, and I love that.
And not just Boyd, like yes, that we saw that on the court, but I love what Miles did post game. If you saw the presser, like he did
Yeah,
this unprompted.
absolutely.
Like I know that we've been and we're not the only ones who've said this. We've been very critical on Heidi.
But no,
So
he
like we
he did the little things. Like he did the
yes,
little things. Tuesday night for sure.
and honestly, like we said Saturday as well
Yeah,
at Nevada.
he
Like his
does the
plus
little
minus has been
things.
good. Like
Like
I believe it was like alone in the second half, he was a plus minus 21.
yeah. I
So like
mean,
that shows you like he's doing things that you're not seeing on the stat sheet or the box score.
yeah. Like even
So
if he's
like, hey,
just
we'll
like
give
in the
credit
right,
to Heidi.
even if he's just like a big body who's in the right position in the middle, that forces the offense to do something else.
Right. So
That
like we'll
still
give credit to
matters.
Miles. No
Yeah,
question about
absolutely.
it. Because like JCJ was out.
Yeah,
So Heidi stepped up. Give
yeah, he
credit to
did.
him.
And
Like the
then
numbers don't
Boyd,
support it, but like the impact is there.
yeah, I gotta say too, Boyd. I mean, he's he's tough and he's not afraid with the game on the line, and I like that.
No.
He's
No, he's
tough,
not.
man. He'll go to the rim, get fat, get hit hard, get the and one. He's tough and he's clutch.
Yeah, like him
I
and
know he
Bird,
missed the
like
free throw that would have put
yeah,
us up four,
yeah.
but
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 him and
he's
Bird
tough
are
and
like
gets
all
big
yeah.
baskets like down the stretch of games. I like that a lot.
Because I think it's been pretty clear like ever since like we knew this team how the team was gonna be formed that like Boyd and Bird have to be the leaders and finally they're showing it. And again, this it's better to see this now rather than it be too late. So like again, like Dutch showing some frustration and urgency. I think the players are feeding off it. So again, we'll see. We have Wyoming on Saturday. Will be a good game, interesting game. Hopefully, we take care of our business and
Yeah.
we start to play a bit better.
Yeah,
Because
I'll
like
just say this
it
too is that San Jose State might be a game behind Wyoming in the Mountain West standings, but I think they're a better team than Wyoming. I mean, San Jose State's had a lot
yeah
of their New Mexico's only conference loss, and they've had a lot of almost games. San Jose State has, so
yeah. Like San
I believe
Jose
they're now
State's a
what
good team
nine and
against the
one
spread.
against the spread in the Mountain West.
17-4 overall
Yeah,
on the season.
they're obviously not the greatest team, but they're pesky. They're in every game, so and
And
we
Tim
saw what
Miles
they
is
can
a
do,
good
and they
coach.
yeah, he is a good coach, and we
Yeah.
saw what happened. And apparently they were shooting over 40% from three in their last like 4 or 5 coming into
Yeah, so that wasn't a
last
fluke.
night. So
So
they've been playing
yeah,
better. So and they started the game hot
yeah.
against us, and we hung in there and found a way to beat them.
And then yeah, like once we had to buckle down, our defense buckled down. No question about it. Like you just knew they weren't gonna sustain what they did in the first half the whole game. Like, yeah, they still shot 48% from three and made 15. But you couldn't do that the whole game, especially at VA House and against our defense.
No, and I'll say this too: home court advantage, man, this matters so much.
Huge.
The crowd at Viejas mattered so much. Like the crowd was in it the whole game, even when we were down a lot. And then as soon as it got close and the crowd got really, really loud, I think San Jose State almost felt like the walls were closing in around them. They started turning the ball over. They started committing offensive fouls. They didn't move the ball like they were earlier in the game. Like, I think they just gotta be like, oh crap, the walls are like closing in around us, and that's what was a big part of it.
No question. And then obviously, we can't go on this pod and not mention how good Goon was again last night.
Oh
No
my
question
god.
about it.
I mean,
Like,
this month he's looked like an NBA player.
yeah, like finally, like he's putting together a stretch of like multiple games in a row where he's looked really good. Because yeah, he saved us in the first half. Like he scored basically half our points.
Yeah, he did.
And then he scored double figures again the second half. So that's a good development to see. Hopefully again, Guap continues it because he should win freshman of the year at
Yeah,
this
I
rate. Like
don't
he
even
can
think that's
still be
really a
better. Like
question, honestly.
right. So but still, like that's good to see. And we need him. We need him to continue to do this and we could be a much better team if he can do this and other guys can continue to step up, no question about it.
Yeah, so after
And
Wyoming
I
on
just feel like
Saturday,
I just feel like too mentioning other things that I like besides the turnovers, our offense has actually looked better the last couple of games. Like we're starting to shoot the ball a bit better. We
yeah,
were
and they're
over
also
50% the entire game.
yeah, and they're also learning that throwing the ball down low to Guath is a pretty good play.
Yeah, and then even like I know Farrell doesn't get a lot of run, but he still gets some points in the paint. Like he still gets alley oops.
Yeah, he's got to learn to be a little bit better on, finishing layups.
True.
But if you throw the ball up to him, he'll dunk it.
Yeah, so it's like again, you just can't. I've always thought you can never abandon the post game, like you can never abandon the run game. Like you have
No, I'm
to
with you on that for
try it
sure.
100%. So
Yeah.
yeah. So hopefully they can keep that up because yeah, besides the turnovers, I felt like we did a good job.
Yeah, I felt like, people are gonna be like, "Oh, we only beat San Jose State by 3." It's like, yeah, we had that ugly stretch of turnovers, but what the thing you have to remember about basketball, it's not like baseball where like you can, miss location to like a bad lineup and get hammered. It's not
No,
like football where you can throw interceptions against a bad defense, just throwing the ball right to the defense.
right.
Or you can give a bad passing game wide open touchdowns because you blew a coverage. Like basketball works a little differently than that. Sometimes the other team just is on fire to start a game, like San Jose State was last night.
We've seen it multiple times, like numerous times in basketball. Like this
Yeah,
is
that's
this is not anything new.
Yeah, basketball's not like baseball or football where if you're losing to a bad team, it can often be because of you. Like a lot of times in basketball, it just if that happens, it's just like a team just caught fire, like, and it's nothing you can do about it.
Right. And you just got to
Like,
continue to play your game.
yeah, like do we have the best defense like in the world in that start of the game?
No.
No, but it's not like we were leaving them wide open every time. I mean, they had some open looks, but they also were launching some from way out and they were going in. So
And then once we buckled down, you saw what happened.
yeah, absolutely.
So, so yeah, no question. So again, we have Wyoming on Saturday. Like, what I want to see from the teams that we're supposed to beat from here on out, I want to see us like win more convincingly. A, the biggest thing is for our metrics. So like our numbers could look better because we've been taking a dip from obviously only beating Air Force by 1 and beating San Jose by 3. It's not like the end of the world thing, but it's not a great thing.
No, it's keeping us on the bubble even though we're winning.
Yeah. Yeah, so like hopefully we can start to blow these teams out more.
Yeah, because I mean, if you blow those teams out, then you're gonna like solidify your spot.
Because here's an example of a team that blows teams out, like teams are supposed to beat out a lot, and it's helping their metrics out and it's helping their seat and resume out. St. Mary's. If you look at
Yeah,
them, they don't have a great win. They don't have a great win this year, but they're seated ahead of us because they blow teams out and their metrics are much better than ours because of it.
yeah. So we gotta get some convincing wins. Hopefully Saturday against Wyoming. Like I said, I don't think
Yeah.
Wyoming's as good of a team as San Jose State. So
No, and then also to note, Wyoming did have to go to overtime at home against Fresno yesterday as well.
oh, okay. Yeah, so we're staying home
So
while they have to travel after an overtime game.
yeah, so I feel like we should be in a good spot. Hopefully, again, what we saw from Dutch, uh, holding Bird accountable, how he responded, and like Boyd's leadership. Hopefully, those things can help us
Yeah, for
finally.
sure. Because
Because
after the
because
Wyoming
again,
game, you got a week
a
off.
week off.
And then you have a game against Colorado State in Fort Collins, kind of a big one because
Yeah,
Colorado State is currently 79 in the net right now. So that is a quad 2 game currently. It has a chance to end up
I
being a
quad too.
quad 1 game.
Yes, and basically the way Colorado State's playing, they're basically a quad. Like they're a good team. Like they're third in they're ahead of us. So like it's a huge game. We're not gonna take it lightly. Uh, but yeah, and then also you would think, knowing our program, knowing how Dutch teams usually do as the season progresses, still, I don't think we still have played our best basketball yet in conference. Like again, February Dutch is a thing,
Yeah, and
and guess
Saturday's
what?
February 1st.
There you go. So let's start off the month of February right off the bat with a good win, and then carry that momentum to the rest of the month.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
Because yeah, you would think we can't play this bad, we can't be this inconsistent forever.
Yeah, and this conference is still up for the taking, man. I mean, Utah
No
State
question.
didn't put away UNLV until very late tonight.
They didn't look convincing or great at all. Like
And
honestly,
they've
just
been kind
watching
of
Utah State.
lucky, and they honestly should have lost to us here too. And I'm actually feeling
Yeah.
pretty good about our chances to get them back in Logan.
Yeah, like just watching them a lot so far in conference. I haven't been that over. Like they should have lost also to Boise at home. And they've had some close calls too. Besides that, like they haven't been convincing. So they're right for the taking. And then we'll look at schedules. Well, guess what? One of them or New Mexico is guaranteed to lose on Saturday because both of them play each other in Logan. So one of them is
Yep.
losing. That's number one. Number two, let's look at New Mexico's schedule and Utah State's schedule. So New Mexico, besides Saturday, still has to go on the road to Boise. Twice they haven't won since 2017. And obviously, they still have to go to us on the 25th, and they still have the game against Colorado State a week from today. Not going
Yeah,
to be easy with the way Colorado State has been playing.
yeah, absolutely.
And I still think New Mexico still has it in them to blow one of these, like a surprising game. So
Yeah, I mean,
we'll
so
see.
this conference race is still wide open, dude.
And then Utah State, besides Saturday, still has to go to the pit because they haven't played each other yet. They still have the playoffs on the 22nd, and then after that, they have to go to Colorado State, and they still have to go to Boise.
Yeah, and Boise State's only home loss this year is to us, so
So yeah, like Boise can help us out if we want to have a share of the title. Like it's not over yet. We're only two behind.
no. Yeah.
And again, like I'm like New Mexico still has to prove it to me a bit more. We'll know more about each of those two teams on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm
But
looking
one's
forward to
guaranteed
seeing
to
that.
lose. Right.
Um,
So yeah, and then a couple more things here. Uh, we have to continue to be huge Creighton and Houston fans because hey, those teams are playing well, especially Houston. Like
I mean,
Houston could
Houston
win the
hasn't
Big
lost
12.
since we beat them, right?
No, no, they haven't. And obviously they're undefeated and in first place in the Big 12. Like they're trending right now to be at 2 seed because they're finally starting to get some quad one wins,
And
and the metrics
Creighton's
look spotty for them.
and now Creighton's 8-2 in the Big East. They're only one game behind Marquette and St. John's.
Right, and then Creighton, I feel like has a manageable schedule, so I feel like Creighton will continue to win games. And we beat them by 18 convincingly.
Yeah, and Creighton still has a chance against both Marquette and St. John's.
Right, so
So that to pad their resume, which would in
like those
effect
are
pad
like
ours too.
exactly so. Like those two wins are probably two wins that other bubble teams don't have. So that could be a saving grace.
Yeah, for sure.
Because again, right now, why we want to say we need to start playing better, we need to blow teams out. Yeah, we're basically a last four buys, or is that we're going to Dayton, like based on uh what I'm seeing from bracketologists, not just Lunardi, but like other people as well who like do their research. So yeah,
Yeah,
like this, like the message is still the same, the goal is still the same. Continue to win games, but find a way to play better. And I still trust the team because again, the potential is there. And
yeah.
hey, if you want a metaphor, here you go. Let's go back to the 30-2 team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we played that close game at home against San Jose in December. After that, we started to blow teams out and play good basketball, like for a while. Hopefully we can see the same thing here. Would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Would be awesome.
So yeah, definitely proud of the team for finding a way to fight and claw back, but still some work to do. And just seeing what I saw yesterday from Dutch and from the players gives me hope.
Yeah, for sure. How could it not? You know, they easily could have rolled over down 21 points and they didn't.
No question about it. So I feel like again, like this team will not quit and they'll play into the very end. And I think that's why I think in the end I think we should be okay.
Yeah, I would think so as well. I mean, February, we'll find out a lot. That's usually the month where Dutcher teams take off.
And again, our schedule is not too relatively hard.
No, I feel like if we were able to beat Boise to give them their only loss at extra mile, that we should do well against them here.
Yeah, so again, I think the date we're all circling, like the first one is Moby, no question. We can't overlook Colorado State.
And I'll be
But
in
the
Fort
big
Collins for that one, folks.
you will be on the 8th. But the one that we're circling is February 22nd.
Yeah.
That's the game. That will tell us everything, I think. Like
Yeah, and then the New
Colorado State will be
Mexico
the
game on
first
the
test,
25th, too.
but the litmus test is the 22nd because that's our last quad one game. and probably a chance to keep us in the race to hang a banner. And I know Davey, you want that, and I want it as well.
Yeah, because for me, the goal now is like the point we are at as a program after is like the goal every season should be to hang a banner, at least one banner.
At least one,
Whether
if
that's
not
making the
multiple.
second weekend of the tournament like it was last year, whether that's winning a regular season title, which we've done 3 times since Dutch took over, or win the Mountain West tournament, which we've done 3 times since Dutch took over. So the goal every season should be at least one banner.
No question about it. So still a lot to play for. It will be interesting to see, but I think I have hope.
I do as well.
Yeah, no question about it.
So is that all you got on the Aztecs?
Yeah, I mean, we talked a good amount about them for a good reason. So yeah, I feel like we've talked about them. Hopefully we can say more good things on Sunday after the win against Wyoming.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So anything else on the
No,
Aztecs?
no, I think we got everything. So we got some breaking news, folks. We can finally celebrate as Padre fans. We signed someone in free agency. Celebrate.
Yes, we
Finally,
did.
right? I mean, that's probably the feeling that everyone had once we found out we were bringing back Elias Diaz. And that's a big move for us, honestly. Because again, you kept on saying, and I wholeheartedly agree, you can't have a black hole at catcher. And Diaz is not a bad option to be catcher number one.
No, I mean, he's a line drive hitter. He's solid. He works very well with pitchers behind the plate. I liked what I saw from him the games he started that Higgy didn't down the stretch when we had him. And is he great? No. Is he going to be an all-star again? Probably not. But do I think he can hit, 260 with 15 home runs and give you solid defense and work well with the pitchers? I do.
So yeah, it's a solid signing. He was the best catcher available left in the free agent market. So yes, I like, and the price isn't that bad,
No, it
honestly.
really isn't.
So no, that was a huge move for us because obviously we knew, like, oh, catcher or left field, you have to go catcher.
Yeah, of course. I said that on here at least once. And I'll say this too is
Absolutely.
that people are, because I know, because believe me, guys, I've seen the video of like Campy going back to his old stance in the winter leagues. It's like, that'd be cool and all if he could hit like he did 2 years ago, but his defense is so bad behind the plate and we don't have a
It,
set DH that if, going back to the old stance, he hits like he did at the end of 23, then he can get at bats at DH because we don't have a set DH right now.
right, and then also,
So it could help the
well,
team in multiple ways if you think about it that
yeah,
way, or at least has the potential
absolutely,
to.
because he couldn't go into spring training and absolutely not the regular season with Campy as your number one catcher. No way. And I'm
No,
glad that
and
he's not going to be that.
no, and now there's almost no way Martin Maldonado will be on the roster, which would have been just disastrous.
With his age and how much he's regressed, absolutely not.
I mean, he wasn't even good defensively last year, and like the worst team in the history of baseball, like cut him before the season was over.
Right. Just looking at Campy since you mentioned him, his Savant was good in 23. It wasn't horrible. Like it was decent,
Yeah, exactly.
but
If
in
he goes,
24 it was bad.
yeah,
So
exactly.
hopefully we can see the results
That's what I'm saying.
in
If
the
he goes
season.
back to the
Right.
old stance that he had in 23, then he has a chance to hit like he did in 23.
Right. Because remember, he's been a good hitter in the minors.
Yeah, I saw him at Elsinore when he was there. It was a long time ago, but I saw him at Elsinore when he was there. Like he definitely has the ability.
Right. Like we're pulling for him, but I just feel like yeah, at this point, like we've given him ample opportunities to be a catcher, and he hasn't shown it. So yeah, I'm glad we got Diaz back, and it's a mutual deal. So like, if both us and him agree, he can come back for another year for 2026. We'll see though.
Yeah, I mean, that's a long ways away still.
True. So something we want to mention here, just okay, first off, I'll just mention CBT wise. We're already over a bit, so we're gonna be over now about like by like 4.5, 5 million, which isn't terrible. And we could still do things to get under. We'll address that in a bit.
Yeah, I
But
mean, we'll just go. Or did you have something else to say before that?
I was about to mention the fan graphs thing
Yeah,
before
okay, go
DS.
ahead.
Yeah, so a fan graphs guy had us around the mid to high 80 wins total based off war projections for next year. This was before Diaz signed. And obviously, our depth chart at catcher before was Campy and like Sullivan. That's basically nothing.
Yeah,
Diaz
so
will
now
give
that
you something.
yeah, I mean, think about it. Like, there's a good chance that like between what they projected from a combination of like Campy, Maldonado, like, well, obviously the projection was point 0.8, but it's those they could have projected, potential negatives from
Right,
guys that were on there. Two of the three
right.
guys on there could have combined for like a negative or something like that. So to push one of those out with Diaz, that probably changes it. I mean, I don't think he's updated since then, but probably changes it.
No, so like it's a good signing. So like it gives us a glimmer of hope for a bit. But again, we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I guess since you mentioned the CBT being a little bit over it, and we keep hearing there's no way they're going to be over it. Well, I mean, that's why you keep seeing these trade rumors. Apparently now King's in the mix on that. Although Robert Murray said like he hasn't gone this. He's like, remember, guys, there's a difference between listening and shopping, and the Padres are just
Yeah,
basically listing on everybody. And
right,
the thing why King makes less sense to trade than others is because they want to trade these guys to like not just get people back, but like free up room to like go get somebody else. So what I'm saying is like
right.
Cease makes what 13 million. So then if you trade him, and the guys you get back that are on the major league roster make league minimum, and then I don't know, say you sign Jose Quintana for 8 million, then you potentially got two guys for 9 million, even if neither one's on Cease's level. It's still more depth, less top heavy for 9
Hmm.
million instead of one guy for 13. So that's the kind of idea. King's salary, whether it's what ends up being what he filed for or what we filed for in arbitration, doesn't give you that much salary relief. So that's why I think he makes the less sense of them to trade, because you can always trade him at the deadline if you're out of the playoff race. I think people don't realize that.
It's true.
And other thing Robert Murray was saying, I'm going to refer to other stuff Robert Murray said too, because I've watched his basically all his Baseball Insider podcasts all off season.
Hmm.
Um, he was saying today like that the Padres feel like Arise offers more value to the team they could get back from a trade. So it looks like they'll probably keep him, is what he said. And he said with guys like
Yeah,
Kyle Finnegan still out there on the market that they might not get a great return for Suarez either. So I'm still saying that Cease is the one that gets traded.
like it's pretty clear. Well, yeah, like Cease could get you a lot, no
Yeah, I
question.
mean, you could
'Cause, like,
trade Cease.
he's an enticing name.
Yeah, you could trade Cease to Atlanta and get like AJ Smith Shawver and hitting and a position player prospect too.
Yeah, like that's good. Like for an expiring
And then
contract.
again, it's 13 million. Well, basically 12, because you would assume that in that hypothetical, Smith Shawver would be on the major league roster making
A million.
775,000 or
Right.
whatever the league minimum
Yeah.
is. So basically, you'd
Right.
save 12 million to like, maybe sign somebody for like 7 or 8 million or something like that.
Correct. So
So
yeah, and
that's
again, like,
interesting to me.
and again, I think if you here's the one point that we want to make. Yeah, you can technically still contend for 2025 if you do trade Cease, as
Yes,
we just pointed
I'm
out.
glad you pointed it out, because I saw somebody
Yeah.
tweet today. They're like, "Well, this makes sense to trade Cease about." It was quote tweeting something about the Cease and King rumors. They're like, "Makes sense to do this, but don't let them lie to you that if they do it, don't let them lie to you about contending in 2025." That totally depends on now. If you trade both, like you're punting 25, but I highly doubt they trade both.
I doubt
But if
they
you
trade
trade
both as
just
well.
one and you get actual pieces back, then no, you're definitely not giving up on 2025.
And I feel like again at this point, just based off rumors, Sheesh is more likely to get dealt.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
And for good reason. And for good reason, because again, A, he's a Boris client, and B, like he's gonna cost a lot, and C, he's definitely testing free agency. So
yeah, and I will say, like, yeah, he'd probably test free agency, but I will also say this, is that, the Braves might be willing to give up more for Cease than other teams would, because the Braves usually feel like they can re-sign guys they trade for, and Cease is from the Atlanta area, so they figure that maybe they think they have a better chance of getting him.
so
And
yeah,
the Braves
so
seem to love to have guys who are from the Atlanta area on their team. So
yes.
like Olson's from the Atlanta area. Swanson
Dansby
was.
was
Michael Harris is from the Atlanta area.
yeah.
So the Braves seem to love having guys who are from, the Atlanta area or the state of Georgia on their team. And Cease is from about 30 miles outside of downtown Atlanta. So
So yeah, hopefully that's where he ends up. Because again, we can get a good package from the Braves, no question about it.
yeah, absolutely.
And then, as we just said, I mean, you mentioned Suarez's name. Like, eh, we want to still trade him because it would help more for us. Because again, we still have options in the bullpen, and we would be okay without him, in our opinion.
Yeah, I feel like the Suarez trade would have to wait for like a team that doesn't get like Kyle Finnegan or somebody like
And
that.
again, as you said, so like, yeah, unfortunate that has to happen. So we'll see though. But yeah, I still think it makes too much sense to not trade Suarez.
Yeah, hopefully they do pull that off
Right.
before spring training starts.
Right.
Because
Well,
he could regress badly anyways.
no question, no question. Well, there's a couple of things why we wanted to go on today. Number one, this happened today. Ha-Sung Kim is finally off the board.
Yeah, and I mean, I know he was like a Padre Twitter darling, but 14.5 million AAV for a guy who's not going to even start the season healthy. He's out till May, and he regressed offensively last year. And he made errors at inopportune times in the game, or like misplayed balls that were somehow scored hits instead of errors at inopportune times in the game. So honestly, the Padres kind of won in spite of him last year. So I don't really care at all that he's gone.
I don't either. And plus, yeah, we were definitely okay without him after he went on the IL and never came back. And I think we'll be okay without him. And he's not worth 14.5 AAV. No. So Tampa overpaid to get him.
Yeah, probably the only way
So
you can get a guy to come to Tampa.
at this rate, yeah. So, but
With that
Kim, thanks for your
situation.
service. Yeah, thanks for your services. Uh, I won't say you're going to be missed.
No. I'll still remember the game-winning homer you hit against Cincinnati, the first series back at full capacity in
You
21.
did.
I won't forget the RBI double you had in the famous 7th inning in game 4 against the Dodgers in 22.
His best moment as a Padre.
But other than that, like, we move on.
No question
Certainly
about
not
it.
broken up about this like I was pro far.
Oh no, no question.
Not even close.
Yeah, so wanted to say that, but obviously we have to go back to obviously the thing that is looming on the team on the franchise because we've heard a couple more things on ownership and Shield herself actually.
Yeah, which kind of surprised me, and it's not great. So we'll
No,
start
so
with So I'll start by saying this is that so I believe on they was it Monday that they countersued her, right?
yes.
And there's a lot of moving parts to this that I don't understand. Like they want certain parts of it to go to arbitration and be settled that way, and it's really confusing. So we'll just try and keep this as simple as possible. Like they sued her back on Monday. Actually, sorry, that wasn't on Monday. It was announced Tuesday, but it was late Monday. And on Monday, Scott Kaplan was saying, and and let me just get this straight. I used to like Scott Kaplan. I haven't really believed him in years though, because it felt like once 1090 went under, he just said outrageous things to like get clicks to stay relevant. Like he was saying, like Darvish owes us an explanation on his whereabouts last year and the personal thing, and like he got destroyed for that, rightfully so. And
Right.
so anyways, so when he said, like, I was told by a minority owner that, they don't like Sheil at all. And like, they think that she's in this for attention and a gold digger and she doesn't actually care about the team and she just wants money and attention. And I was like, my reaction to that was, well, Kaplan, is stirring shit, excuse my language, up to stay relevant like he has for 5 years now. And I was like, okay, whatever. I kind of like blew it off. But then what we heard from one of our friends on Twitter that we mentioned him in the past before, he was saying that he knows two people who don't know each other who said some things about Sheil that were, let's say, less than flattering.
Yeah, so apparently he's heard from not just one, but two people saying that Sheil is basically, let's put it nicely, a hard person to deal with.
Yeah.
You would say, oh, from one person, okay, but from a second person who doesn't know the other person, then it's more believable.
Especially because it's matching up. Then let me get this clear. I'm not taking the brother's side by any means in this. I'm taking nobody's side in this, and we're going to get to that in a second.
No, and we'll talk more about this.
But it matches up with what the brothers are saying about her, and it matches up with the Kaplan report. So it's like, okay, I mean, even if you don't like the side of their brothers, even if you don't believe Kaplan, like if their stories, if two people who don't know each other are basically saying that about her, then yeah, there's merit to it.
Fortunate, but I feel like we'll talk more about it, but we can go on the timeline first. So let's note the timeline on them filing against her and then her filing against them. Again, it lines up again with everything, with reports, rumors about what kind of flexibility the Padres may have or not have. And it's been changing.
Yeah. So I remember because a lot of people were worried about if this ownership would, if they would spend the money necessary to build off last year. And I was kind of like, well, they probably made money, so I think they will, and because of course everyone said that, even if Peter was alive, they would have had cut back last year, losing a TV deal, which we've talked about before. So I was, optimistic that they would. And then around Thanksgiving, so like the offseason hadn't really gotten going yet. A little bit before Thanksgiving, I think, is when this was said. Robert Murray on his Baseball Insiders podcast. And personally, I think Robert Murray's the second best, most reliable insider for information after Passan. So I take what he says pretty seriously. And he was saying, like, when people would ask about what the Padres were going to do in his chats, he said things along the line of, they have not a ton of flexibility, but they have enough to do these certain things to improve their team, something along those lines. So basically he was saying, like, they're not swimming in cash, they're not going to go crazy like they have in the past, but they have some flexibility. And then, slowly, it turns to around mid-December where AC's releasing articles and you're like saying like, oh, there's no way they go over the CBT number. And then Robert Murray starts to say, they're outpriced even for guys like James McCann. And I was thinking to myself, well, what the heck changed? This doesn't make sense. And then as more details about this infighting with the Seidler family comes out, you realize it kind of starts to make sense.
Right.
Because it was, I believe, less than a week after we got eliminated, she asked to be named control person. She said no. And that's when they filed against her and tried to go to arbitration with one part of the lawsuit, and then she tried to go arbitration back against them. And it was kind of a little, from what I sound like, it seems like a little bit of a back and forth then until she went public on January 6th.
Yeah.
So
again, so this has been going on for a while.
So the fact that, like, once it became clear that the legal fight was going to be uglier, it was like, well, we actually don't have as much money to spend as we do. I mean, that could very well be
Right.
the case because that makes sense with the timeline.
Yep. Unfortunate as it is, but
Yeah,
I
and
just
like I
feel
said,
like
like,
yeah, I just
so
feel like
I know
what
some
we
people are gonna be
heard.
like,
Yeah.
and I've seen people say this on see this
Go ahead.
online too. They're like, "Oh, well, so Shield's screwing us going after this." It's like the brothers aren't innocent either. I think the best take to have it
No.
is what John and Jim said on their show earlier this week because they've covered this very well. And John and Jim are the best radio
Yes.
show in town by far. Anyways, the only one I
Hands
really
on.
listen to.
Love you both. Love you both.
Yeah, John, you're the man for
Yes, sir.
we love what you do for the Aztecs. Jim, you're great with John on the show. Keep it up, fellas.
Yep.
So
Always
what
a
I was saying about what they've been
pleasure to
covering
listen to you guys.
is that is that John said this was a couple earlier this week. He was like, because apparently of course Shield said in the lawsuit that like they might move the team out of San Diego or something like that, and Schaefer was like, no, I don't think that's true, Shield, because it's not. We've talked about that. And then, but he also said that the brothers were saying like she filed this while we were going after Sasaki and it cost us Sasaki. And John's like, I don't think that's true either. So yeah, I mean it's wrong on both sides. Like both sides, are failing in one way or another to like do their duty. Like Shield doing this when she did is not best for the team. And now I question if she really is, would be like
Right.
Peter if she just wants the attention and money.
And again, yeah, based off everything we've heard, again, not just from uh the guy who we know off Taplin and off what the brothers are saying, I have come to the conclusion, and I've slowly been thinking about it for a while now. It's probably in the best interest for the franchise and the health for the team that this a sale is probably the best thing, and that we have new ownership after this is settled.
Yeah, and
Let's
don't
say
overthink this, guys. It would be a good
right,
thing because I've
no
seen
question.
people saying like, "Oh, like nobody can uphold what Peter did except Shield." So like, it's the end of the franchise. You sell the team. I saw that today, and then I saw another person say like, "Oh, there'll be a fire sale if the team is sold." I'm like, and where do people come up with this? Getting wouldn't tear. I understand, like, oh, well, you want to get rid of bad contracts for a team sold. It's like, yeah, but like having those star players kind of makes a team like a better investment. I mean, you
Yeah,
got to think that, guys like Carlos Correa, Byron Buxton, Royce Lewis, and maybe even like a Pablo Lopez are like making the Twins more attractive to these bidders. And that's why there's more interest in the Twins than people thought there was going to be.
and again, like we already compared the Twins to us. It's like, hey, we're already in a better, like we're a better destination than the Twins, and we have bigger names than they do.
Yeah. So like, I think like those star players, people are like, well, Bogart's contract is an anchor, but the other guys, like, it's like having those names on the team is like makes the team worth more. It makes it, a better investment.
And again, the potential in the market is bigger, honestly, in San Diego.
Yeah,
Us
because
being the only like
one
real
of the guys'
team
argument
as of
was
now.
like one of the guys who's like anti sale of the team was like, well, nobody spends much. Like the last 5 teams that have been sold, like only the Mets have really opened the checkbook. Which isn't even true because, well, number one, he mentioned Seattle and Miami. Well, the Marlins were sold to Bruce Sherman's group for $1.2 billion. That's less than the value of 28 out of 30 teams now. And I've talked about this before. Like,
Right.
if these teams are too valuable to be bought by jokesters now. Like the people who bought the Marlins could never buy a team today.
No.
That's kind of my point. And like, the guy said like the Royals were like an example of like new owner and not spending. I mean, the Royals got up to like middle of the pack payroll when they had their World Series teams, but for the most part they were extremely cheap under David Glass. And
Right.
then last year, I mean, they didn't go crazy, but they spent money to get starting pitchers in free agency and it got them to the playoffs. And the guy tried to tell me, like, Kansas City's payroll is only 20th. It's like, yeah, they're in the third smallest market in the league, and they play in an old stadium that they're trying to get out of that doesn't, host a ton of non-baseball events like a Petco does. So they're not, like, swimming in cash because of that, yet they still bumped their payroll up to a higher position than it was before. So, to have like a bottom of the middle of the pack payroll, given their market and stadium situation, is pretty solid. And just today they signed Carlos Estevez for $10 million a year.
Yes.
Literally today. So like, yeah, they're not doing what Cohen's doing in New York, but given the
Not everyone can
limitations
do
of
that.
the
We've
market and
mentioned that.
stadium they're in, like I think the
But
Royals are spending.
but here's the thing too, with small markets and owners that I feel like that I have to argue against that person as well. Small market owners will spend if they feel like they have a chance to compete. No question
Right.
about it. We've
And the
seen it.
Royals, they were in the ALDS. They lost 3-1 to the Yankees, but all 3 games they were right in it. So the Royals feel like they're close, so they're upping the spending.
Right, and then we've seen teams
Not
in the
rocket
past
science.
before. Yeah, and we've seen teams in the past before with small markets. They have a chance. They take the opportunity to spend. We mentioned it. I think you mentioned it not too long ago with the Pirates. They even signed a Francisco Liriano in the
Yeah,
mid
they gave
2010s.
Francisco, because the Pirates made the playoffs 2 years in a row, they gave Francisco Liriano $13 million a year, which was
Right.
a lot back then. And they had like an $100 million payroll when they won
Yeah.
98 games. So like, and Bob Nutting's like one of the cheapest owners in the league, and even he upped it when they had a chance at a World Series.
Again, I'm confident. I'll just say this right now. If we didn't have this lawsuit or drama on our heads, we would not be this cheap.
No, of course not. And
I
the
felt
other
like
thing,
I feel like if we didn't have the drama, we would have spent to be under the second CBP. I don't think
yeah, I would
being
agree with
over the
that.
CBP would have mattered.
Yeah, which maybe maybe they just maybe if and when John Seiler becomes official control person, maybe they'll address us and tell us what's going on, and maybe that's why they haven't yet. I don't know, but I'm not a fan of the brothers by any means, but I'm more willing to give them a chance now that this information has come to light.
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm basically neutral at this point.
and the other thing,
Honestly,
and the other
we just want what's best.
yeah,
That's all we want.
and
I
the
don't
other
care
thing that
how.
was mentioned to me was the guy said something like, "Oh, well, Baltimore isn't opening the checkbook too, and they're the most recent team to sell." The Orioles were 22nd in payroll last year. They're now 15th this year, so payroll is going up for them.
Just not to the degree that some of people want it to, but yeah,
No,
I get the
and
point.
I will,
Obviously.
and if you want to tell me that they're not spending it on the right people, I mean, I will accept that argument for sure.
Yeah.
That they're not spending it the way they should, but their payroll, and the offseason's not over yet, is already 40 million higher than it was last year. So to say
Right.
like, and the Orioles, their guys are still, most of their guys aren't even in arbitration yet, I don't think.
Hmm.
Because most of them came up in 22 or 23. So
Yeah, so
you can't say, well, it's just going up because of the arb races. No, the Orioles, spent, to get Charlie Morton on a 1-year deal and on other guys. And of course, again, I'll take arguments that Baltimore didn't spend it wisely, but we're not talking about spending it wisely. We're just saying if they spend it or not. So this argument that nobody would come in here and spend money to win is just wrong.
okay, there's a couple more things that we want to talk about this issue before we move on to a couple final things. I think at this point, it's very fair to question whether Shield really has the liquid money to act like Peter did long term. Like
Yeah.
she might be cash poor and have all her money tied up in assets.
Yeah. Like basically, like they always said, like that was the thing they always said about, when the stadium thing was going on here and like whether the Chargers would move to LA to raise the value of the team because they needed the cash, was people would say that like the Spanos family was actually cash poor and had their money tied up in other things. I don't know how true that is or if that was just an excuse people made for them.
I'm not sure about that.
But either way, like that might actually be true about Shield. Like the money might actually,
Yeah.
and I was starting to question this before we heard what we heard. she might have the money tied up in other things and like not have the liquid cash to like run the team like Peter did, like you said. I was starting to question that myself.
Right, because like it's a miss. Honestly, a lot of this is a mystery.
And that's what people are what the other side's claiming too. And I'll be real. I'm sure that Sheil is right about some things and she's lying or exaggerating about others. I'm sure the brothers are right about some things and lying or exaggerating about others. Like, basically, I'm pretty sure parts of both sides are telling the truth and parts of both sides are lying or exaggerating, is basically what I'm saying.
I would agree at this point. And then
So,
the last thing we want to talk about with this for this topic is I just don't get why people have dug themselves so deep on choosing one side or the other.
yeah, I don't get it
And
either.
mostly it's been Shield. Yeah. That they've convinced themselves that a sales would be bad. I disagree at this
Yeah, and
point.
I have one guy who was going back and forth with me Monday night, acting like the brothers were going to be great for this franchise. And it's like, and like I said, I'm more of like, thinking maybe they might run the team somewhat properly if once this lawsuit's over. So I was saying that maybe after this lawsuit's over, they deserve a chance again, is what I'm starting to think based off that information that we talked about. But the one thing they could be doing right now, they're not doing. What are they doing on like trying to get a TV deal? I mean, Milwaukee,
Yes.
Cincinnati, Texas have gone one since Diamond Sports Group fell apart. Like, what's the brothers' excuse on that?
And we were the first ones to lose the deal, so like we had a head start on everyone. But
Yeah, and I can understand if
what
like,
I heard as well that I think might be a reason why that's my logic and like piggybacking off what I saw someone post is that well what else would that network broadcast besides Padre games or Padre content? What else? Like it's the only team in town. Yeah, I know we have San Diego FC now, but all their games are on Apple TV Plus. So what else?
right.
That's like the argument. But I can counter and say you can be creative with what you can what content you can show. Because remember, during the FSSD and the Bowie days, they had San Diego State and USD content on there. They showed Anaheim Ducks games and Clippers games on there as well. I'm not sure they can do that now because obviously Fox Sports and Bowers are tied together. But you can be creative. Like again, we have the San Diego football FC team here now. You can even make content on them.
Absolutely. There's tons of things you can do. You can do like because back when it was Fox Sports San Diego, they had like the Rocky Long show for Aztec football. They had the Dutcher show for Aztec basketball. Like you can do like, like I know this isn't exactly an apples to apples comparison, but Yes Network has like a Yankeeography session where they go back and look at things in Yankee history. Like you can go back and do things looking at, historic teams in San Diego sports, even like old Charger teams from like the Coryell era or like the LT era. Like people would watch that.
I can attest and tell you because I do live in LA market because I'm in Temecula. Yeah, the Dodger channel absolutely does like timeless Dodgers, like timeless Lakers. They do that. Like I've seen it
Yeah,
whenever
like
I browse through my channels.
yeah, and my mom's cousin lives in Santa Clarita. I went to he's a big LA sports guy. I went to a Padre Dodger game with him a few years ago. I stayed at their house that night after the game, and him and I were watching what is it? The SNLA is the Dodgers channel, right? And
SNES
they were
Sports
playing
LA
like,
segment.
they were playing like stuff from the '88 World Series, from Vince Scully's retirement press conference, and
Yeah,
like you can always find content basically. Just even if you only broadcast games for one team, you can fill in the programming with other stuff.
and also you can also showcase high school sports. You can do that. I know.
Absolutely, high school sports are a big
Yeah,
deal here. You can
no question.
say there's like, some wide receiver from one of the big high school football programs around here that's, playing for an ACC school or something. Showcase him. Like
Right, and then you could always
there's
show,
so many things they can do. Like
and then you could
local
broadcast like CIF finals.
Yeah,
You can always
local
do that.
local high schools, like former prep stars here that are playing D1 in football and basketball or even baseball.
Right.
SDFC, features with players and coaches, Aztec basketball features. You can do, Aztec basketball history stuff, do things about the Sweet 16 and Final Four teams, or the 30-2 team in 2020. You can do, Aztec football teams that have won the Mountain West and, seasons, stuff like that. There's plenty of things they can do besides Padre games. Like I said,
There's no
even talk about
excuse.
talk about old Padres and Chargers teams. Like you can do features on that. There's so many things that you can do programming wise. There's really
There's
no
no
excuse.
excuse. There's no excuse. So yeah, like that's one thing that could have been done by now. Because again, we're seeing other teams get their deals done. Get it done. That's like the first thing we need to get done so we can get more revenue.
Yeah, get that done. I mean,
So a couple more things here. I think there's an interesting point on our short to immediate term future here. There is an incentive for MLB to want the Padres to be good. So I feel like
yes,
if they have to
yes,
step in, they will to get
yes. Because
this
I know a lot
figured
of
out
people are
sooner
like,
rather than later.
I know a lot of people are complaining, like, oh, when the Dodgers had this situation in the courts, MLB stepped in and basically forced the McCourts out. Then, now the Dodgers have Guggenheim, and it's like, so like they bailed out the Dodgers out of their terrible situation. Like they wouldn't do that for San Diego because they favor the Dodgers. I mean, I'll say this. As I've heard somebody say too, like, oh, this is all conspiracy to like liquidate the San Diego market and have the Padres move and expand the Dodger empire south, which is just such a dumb thing to say. I can't believe that was actually said.
That's one of the most dumb things I've ever heard
Yeah, I
to
mean,
begin with.
it is better for MLB if like the Padres are good. And the reason I was just I speculate on this and I looked it up and I confirmed it to be true. The NLDS had better ratings in 22 and 24 when the Dodgers played us as opposed to when they played Arizona in 23. I was reading this. Division series ratings were down in 23 compared to 22. And then they went back up at 24. And listen up here. The game 5 between us and the Dodgers last year was the highest rated division series game since 2017. And you know why that's so significant? In 2018, there was an ALDS that was Red Sox and Yankees. In 2021, there was a 5-game NLDS between the Dodgers and Giants. I mean, yet in that time, the highest rated game was us and the Dodgers last year. So if people, because I've heard people say, well, MLB is just letting the Dodgers use all these loopholes because they panicked after they got a Diamondbacks Rangers World Series that nobody watched. Well, if they care about the ratings, then they would see that, it helps the sports ratings and interest if, there's a legitimate rival, if we are this legitimate rival to the Dodgers. They can see that. Anybody can see those ratings. I looked it up yesterday or the other night.
And again, that just proves the fact that saying, just the fact that you said it outdrew Yankees Red Sox series, all 4 of those games, and then a 5-gamer against who the Dodgers think is their biggest rival, but only had that 1 year in the Giants. We matter. We matter.
Yeah,
and yes, ever since we've gotten good, MLB has given us, I think, a fair share of coverage.
Oh yeah, we've been on plenty of Sunday night. We even have another like 3 or 4 Sunday night games this year in the first half.
and then on social media, like MLB like puts out a lot of good posts more than any other team, like small market team.
Yeah, I
mean, we have the players.
Yeah,
and we have the reach.
Even last year, like they put us in the opening series in South Korea against the Dodgers, and they had another game where we played the Dodgers at Dodger Stadium on Sunday night. And we have Sunday night baseball against Atlanta here opening weekend is Sunday night. We're the first stateside Sunday night game this season. So like this isn't like, and that's partially what happened, going back to the guy who's like, well, the Marlins haven't had it any better since they sold. Yeah, they don't care like who buys the Marlins because Miami's like an irrelevant market, basically.
Yeah.
I bet you there are people in MLB circles who secretly wish the Marlins didn't get a stadium and moved to like Nashville.
No question.
So like that's not the case here at all. Like they still like we're still one of the teams that gets a lot of national games. Because we have the Sunday night game in Houston, and then we have a Sunday night game against the Rangers here, 4th of July weekend. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And even last year, we had a Sunday night game against the Braves in Atlanta. Yeah.
And again, like, here's the dumbest thing also, just like thinking of the fact. Again, our popularity has grown so much as a franchise and a team ever since we got like Manny and Tatis. Like people have started to follow the team. Like do you not know we're basically now top 10 on Instagram follows out of MLB teams? We matter.
I
We
actually didn't know
matter.
that.
Yeah, we have that much followers. I tracked it. I've been tracking it for a while now. Like we were in the before there was no way we were even close. Like we were like bottom 5, bottom 10 in follows. Now we're top 10.
Yeah.
That matters.
Yeah, for sure. So if you think there's just no way that, that MLB is just going to screw us and let this drag out forever, I don't think so. They have real incentive here to try and step in if they feel like it's going to drag out for too long.
And as much as the media, as Rosenthal try to say, oh, it's only good as the Dodgers are good. No, I really think Manfred and MLB knows deep down that there's value in having a good Padres team here.
Yeah, and like I said before, Manfred is not asleep at the wheel about this like people think he is.
No, because again, the narrative has been since 2020. The Padres Dodgers is basically the West Coast version of the Yankees Red Sox. That's a good thing for the game.
Yeah, I mean, and I guarantee you, like, if the Yankees or Red Sox were having something like this going on in the 2000s, that MLB would have said, "Hold up, we got to step in before this gets ugly." So, I mean,
Save the Reds, no question.
Like I said, like if this happened in like Tampa Bay, they'd be like, "Yeah, let it play out. Who cares?" But this is not it at all.
I don't think so either. So, yeah, because MLB does see the value for the doomers out there who's saying, "Oh, like we're a lost cause." No,
No,
I don't think so.
no, like yeah, there's definitely. I want to point that out there because most people probably have no idea
Mm-mm.
about this.
No, I love how you brought that up, but yeah. Again, we just gotta. I just want what's best for the franchise
Yeah, I mean, whoever that is, and my
at this
personal
point.
opinion is that it's somebody whose last name isn't Seidler at this point.
At this. Yeah, I would agree with basically with everything that I've heard recently and how things have been going.
Yeah,
I would start to believe the same thing. And like as we've said, there will be someone who would want to buy the team and would want to win with this team.
of
Again,
course.
you don't become an owner just to become an owner anymore. Not
No,
and especially not in this market
no, I would agree with you on that.
because everything is magnified more here.
Yeah, of course.
So you
Because like
can't get away with things
yeah,
as
because
you
let's
can in
face it,
other
like
markets.
because the Twins are the other team that's up for sale right now. You look at like if it's July, if it's the All-Star break and the Twins are 10 games under 500, you know what people are saying?
Hmm.
Like, let's go to Vikings training camp.
Yep. Again, the Chargers aren't here anymore, so that's not an excuse for Padres fans anymore if we start thinking, oh, We got the Chargers. Let's start to pay attention to them now. Preseason's coming up soon. Not anymore.
No,
You
and
can't hide.
you can't say Aztec basketball either because they don't. Their season doesn't even start till after the World Series, anyways.
It doesn't overlap.
No, there is no overlap. I
Right.
think the closest thing to an overlap was 2019, the Nationals Astros World Series was Game 7 of that was the same night as the Aztecs exhibition game.
Yeah,
I think that's the only overlap or somewhat overlap I've ever seen between MLB season and Aztec basketball.
I agree. So, yeah, everything's more magnified here, and there's gonna be pressure. This is like whoever the new owner is will know the responsibilities.
Yeah, because I feel like, so many years, like these, even like the least shitty, again, excuse my language, I just couldn't think of a better word
Right.
there. The
Right.
like even the least terrible owners who weren't as terrible as the others just like did like the minimum to keep people interested because you know they figured that there was nobody would pay attention to them if they just sucked. But once the Chargers left, it became a whole new world for the Padres because I mean they extended Myers only days after the Chargers left. Then the following offseason, which was their first offseason, they went into the offseason knowing they were the only team in town, was when they signed Hosmer. The offseason after that, they signed Manny, and it just kept going from there.
Mhm.
So, yeah, absolutely. 100%. That's true.
So yeah, like for the people who are doomerish, we've given you reasons why not to. And at this point, you have to let it play out. And I do trust in the league, and I do trust whatever's going to happen will be a good thing at the end of the day. We just gotta be
Yeah.
patient.
Yeah. Absolutely with that. So, I'm still absolutely believe that, MLB is not going to let it drag out and destroy like a
No,
legitimate rival to the Dodgers.
I don't think so either. And again, you're trying to save the
Because here's the
sport.
thing, like, because
You're
of
trying to save the sport.
2020,
You cannot
because
have
we
another team. You need as much competition in baseball right now
yeah,
as
because like,
ever.
even if, like, people are saying, like, "Well, even if the Padres didn't have this thing, they wouldn't be, like, beat the Dodgers out in the regular season." Okay, people don't care about that, like,
No,
people know, like, "Oh, well, the Padres beat them in the playoffs in 22 and had them on the ropes in 24." So, like, that's a team we think can knock the Dodgers off in the playoffs, like,
right.
that's good for the sport, like, to
No
have
question.
like, people aren't gonna like, I guess an example of this is that if the Cincinnati Reds sneak into the 6th seed, nobody thinks, like, if they play the Dodgers in the NLCS, they can knock them off or something like that.
No.
If I don't think anybody thinks the Giants could sneak in as a wild card and knock the Dodgers out. I don't think anybody thinks that if well, some people think the Diamondbacks could, but not as many as us.
Yeah.
Nobody would if the Pittsburgh Pirates snuck in, like, people wouldn't give them a chance. Well, I would because of Skeens, Keller, Jones rotation in a short series can beat anybody, but the most casual fan wouldn't.
Hmm.
The most casual fan will be like, "Do they even have anybody on their team besides Skeens and Brian Reynolds?"
Yeah.
So, yeah, exactly.
I agree.
All right, you got anything else, Dad? I think that's all that I have to say, unless you have anything
We
additional to say.
I don't have anything else. We covered a good amount on both Padres and of course the Aztecs.
Yeah, so thanks for listening, guys. I think there's a pretty good chance that we'll be back on here after the Aztec game against Wyoming on Saturday, probably on Sunday. And I really think that, with only a couple weeks till pitchers and catchers report, I really think that, the Padres are going to have to make a trade here pretty soon, probably Cease, like we talked about earlier. So thanks for listening,
And yeah,
guys.
we can still contend.
Yeah, thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you soon.
Yep. Appreciate you guys. Thanks, Davey, for having me on once again.
Always, bud.
Yes, sir.
I didn't think that would go that long tonight.
I didn't think so either.
I mean, we could have even talked more about the Aztec game last night.
Ooh.